Hey guys, it's Ajay here, and today I'm doing a doll customization from scratch. But before we get started, I want to let you all know that I'm selling Fundraiser dolls to get better at my craft. You can purchase them on my mom's Infinity shop, which I'll link in the description box below. With that being said, today we are doing the African American track and field athlete Florence Griffith Joyner, also known as FloJo. Hopefully this video comes out during Black History Month, but I'm not sure that will be the case. Either way, let's get started. Disclaimer: I am a beginner, so this will not be extremely accurate, but it is not meant to be a caricature or disrespectful in any nature. There's just only so much my art style can do. This is the look that I was going for because I love this gold and silver combination and how she has like this unitard slash jumpsuit slash leotard. It's so crazy. And her looks were just so awesome, but this was my favorite, so I picked it. This is FloJo's body. Have some water in the neck, shoulders, elbow, the elbow joint, hip, and really the knee joint. This is the sculpt I'm using for FloJo. It's not perfect by any means, but it's what I'm using. It was kind of unnecessary for me to blush the doll's body, but I wanted it to be a bit more realistic to match the face, so I'm doing it anyway. Also, sorry for the nudity. I might have to censor it at some point, but I didn't have time to this time around, so yeah. Also, you can see sneak peeks of my other custom dolls in the background. In the meantime, allow me to tell you, who is FloJo? Now, I kind of rushed to do this and used only a few sources, so if you want to learn more, you might need to do a little more research. Now, my brother suggested this woman who was a star and a fashionable athlete. Born December 21st, 1959, she shares my birthday month, in Los Ángeles, California, to Robert and Florence Griffith. Florence, also known as FloJo, began to do track when she was just a young kid. According to an article from ESPN Classics, Flo's father dared her to chase jackrabbits at 5 years old, and she eventually caught one. This showed how fast she was. She also did potato sack racing and was running track by 7 years old, setting records for her high school in the sprints and long jump, and helping her college, California State Northridge, win a national championship. She dropped out of college to financially support her family, but her coach, Bob Kersee, helped her pay to get to the new college he coached for, UCLA, where she won an individual NCAA title in the 200 meters, second place in another 200, and she won a 400 meter race. She graduated with a degree in psychology, and she finished 4th in the 200 meters at the World Championships. She won silver in the 200 meters at the 1984 Olympics and won silver in the 200 meters at the 1987 World Championships. FloJo still owns the world records in both the 100 and 200 meters to this day. She broke records. Well, at least I think she does. That's what the sources said. That these sources might be old. So, don't cancel me. Anyway, she broke records at the 1988 Olympic trials, and despite some doubts, it was confirmed that this performance solidified that she was, at the time, basically the fastest woman in the world. At the 1988 Olympics, She won her first Olympic gold medal and made a world record in the 200 meter. And she won 3 gold medals overall, including in the 4x100 meter relay, and a silver in the 4x400 relay. She retired 4 months later at 29 to focus on a plethora of other things. I would go more and more in depth, but I mean, she is pretty cool. And I'll give you one other fact about her. She actually used to sew clothes for her dolls as well. So that was very ironic. That made me super happy to hear that. But I wish I could share more. I'll probably share some more later, maybe even in my review of the doll that I'm making. So tune into that. I might add some more there. And just go do some research on her. She's awesome. And I'm glad that my brother suggested her. So in the clip that I looped, I showed an outline I made with my watercolor pencils, and I'm showing it here too. And they weren't well sharpened, but I didn't film a lot of the face up for 2 reasons. One, because I was looking at pictures of Flo using my recording device, and 2, because I was trying to get close to the face and make sure I was getting decent details and precision. So I apologize for the lack of videos of the face up in advance. Her face is kind of big, so I'm trying to give her some shading. It looks a little weird, but I'm trying to give her some shading to try to narrow down some of those, some of the roundness of her face, because her face is a little more narrow than I sculpted it to be. Her skin looks a little dark compared to her little skin tone because of all the shading that I tried to do to make her face a little thinner. So that's why she looks a little darker than she really should. But I'm gonna try to fix it using more pastels, like white, to kind of down the color a little bit. But before that, I'm gonna start adding eyeshadow and paint on the lips. I had to order fine tip brushes, so I wasn't able to do the eyes at all on screen until later, and I probably should have used one for the lips too. But anyway, I still wasn't able to show the eyes on camera because I had to be very focused on them and like put it up to my face to do it. Oh, by the way, this isn't technically a tutorial, so I'd like to clarify that. This is just a showcase, if that makes sense. Once that dries, I'm gonna try to paint the teeth more. But as of now, I'm gonna start doing a little bit more pastels, white pastels on the face, and a little more, what do you call it? Some eyeshadow, purple, a little purple. Because one of the pictures that I saw, she had purple. I think that will look good in contrast with the rest of her face. I can look it up to see if there's any other colors I can use, but that's the one that I prefer right now. I'm gonna look it up first, and then I'm gonna say purple or something like that. I'm sure I'm gonna have to touch up the lips after this too. I was able to lighten her face just a little bit by using some more of the brown color, and it actually kind of worked. So I'm about to I have to touch up her lipstick. I think that I should do all the painting, like the lipstick and the eyebrows last, because the dust gets on it. So yeah, I couldn't tell what color she was wearing, so I'm going rosy with purple. This is hard because her eyes are so small. See, I just did a whole bunch on her. On her temple. As you can see it kind of. I'm adding a little water to her eyes to try and get some of the dust out of it. That's probably not the best idea, but it's the only thing that's gonna work for me for now. Okay, the last thing I'm doing until I get my, I just added more light right away. Sorry, I'm doing a lot of stuff off camera because it's hard to record from the angle of which I have my table and stuff. The last things I'm doing right now are adding paint to her lips until I get my fine tip brush, and to her teeth, hopefully. This brush is working way better. I tried to narrow the lips because I sculpted them a little too big. I mean, a little too wide, rather. Here are the results of her face up after I added glaze and gloss and all of the shimmer and Pro X and details. I'm pretty proud of it. What do y'all think? I'll put it side to side with her real pictures. It's not perfect, but I tried. That kind of rhymed. Anyway, what do y'all think? For the hair, I used hair from the Doll Planet Hair shop on Etsy. I used Curly Cocoa in 2227. And I think I started with tacky glue and then started using hot glue, but it wasn't the best either way. I definitely was using, I probably did cut the hair in half, which was probably somewhat okay. But I definitely tried separating the hair and gluing each one on the scalp, which was hard because they were very loose and very mousy curls and not very straight wefts that people usually glue on a doll head. This is how her hair turned out for the most part. She's got a rubber band holding it in place because I tried to give it, it's a long story. I don't even know how to explain what I did, but this took me probably days and days and days and days, and it's still not great. I'll explain that more in my review, but I definitely will not be using the hot gluing method again unless I am taking the curly hair that's folded up and gluing the middle onto it. Other than that, I am not doing the hot glue method with curly hair ever again because it was a hassle. You see why this is so tall? It's because all of this is hot glue bolted up together that I had to keep putting more and more hair on top of layers and layers of glue. I also tried to give her the high pony, which I think I did, but then something happened to where it wouldn't stay down or something like that. Oh wait, I think I might have the high pony still in here. It's tangled and stuff. I might have the high pony still in here, as you can see the rubber band, but I think I had to glue it down because it wasn't staying still or something. Nevertheless, whatever I had to do, it's terrible. Like, look at that. And I tried to do these like things in the front and it got all bulky, but nevertheless it is what it is. The hair itself is really springy, kind of soft. I like it. And yeah, so that's how the hair kind of looks. By the way, I just wanted to point out that I was not insulting the Doll Planet hair. This hair is absolutely stunning, and I've worked with other hair like their kinky hair, and it's amazing. I'm talking specifically about the way that I try to style the hair, because usually people use their hair for reroots and I chose to glue it down, and that wasn't a good idea because again, I'm not advanced, so it didn't work out. And this is curly hair, so hot glue is not the best thing to try. Those of you who use primarily manufactured doll heads, I envy you because I couldn't reroute her hard head and you all have the squishy heads, and this is the result. Moving on to the jewelry and nails, this part was also a hassle. So these are images of the nails I created. Not very good, but anyway, I never filmed myself painting them, but two fell off of here, so here I am making some more with hot glue. I'm applying glue to a paintbrush, then I'm peeling them off eventually, and then I trim them eventually. You could probably use this technique on any doll, especially one with better hands than this, because the hands I made were trash. But anyway, yeah. I add more hot glue to glue them to the fingers after already making the nails. And they're already kind of flat in the back, so I guess that helps. Also, this will probably be able to come off pretty easily when I need it to. That way I can redo them or redecorate. Why is it jagged like keys? They're supposed to look fake, but maybe not this bad. If your nail stylist is doing your nails and it looks this bad, I feel sorry for you, but so what I'm doing for the watch is I'm wrapping around some thin, extremely thin wire, like twice, around the wrist. Terrible wrist. I have these glass seed beads, so I'm gonna release some. Hopefully that wasn't too many. Try to close this back up. And I'm going to put them onto this thin wire one by one until the whole thing is kind of filled up. And once the whole thing is filled up, I might have a hard time doing this. Once the whole thing is filled up, then I will wrap it around her wrist twice. Here is the watch, well, quote unquote watch. I can't do a clock because I'd probably have to sculpt it, which would take forever. And I didn't glue the two wires to one another, but it'll do for now. I'm gonna come back to the necklace at some point once I finish the suit, just to get a better idea of where I should put it. But I'm gonna try to do like the bracelets and the rings. I'm taking artistic liberty with the bracelets and rings because I don't have things to perfectly match it, and I don't really want to perfectly match it because that's gonna take me way too long. Originally, I painted some wire gold and I'm wrapping it around her arm a few times, but then I took a thicker actual gold wire and used it for the smooth bracelet and beaded the then painted wire for the textured bracelet. I probably should have used the thicker wire for the watch, but I'm not so sure how to create a nice watch just yet. I might have to look up some tutorials for that. And again, none of the jewelry pieces are going to look exactly like the real ones because I'm new to this. But I also didn't care too much to perfect it because the hands themselves aren't great, and I don't want to bring too much attention to them. Here's the bracelets. Here's an image of the bracelets, one being solid and the other having some texture, which is what I was kind of going for. Also, I had to switch the bracelets, so I took one off and put it underneath the other. And it keeps sliding down her arm, but oh well. Maybe the solid one will help it stay up just a little bit at least. Last thing I'm gonna do for now is paint her nails a little bit, try to give her some rings, and yeah. It looks to me like most of them are just simply pink. This one looks like it might have something on it, so I can use like red paint to paint that, but the rest of them look blank. But she also has a ring or two, it looks like one ring on her fingers, so I'm probably just gonna use hot glue. So we're gonna put hot glue on her ring finger right here, or we can just hot glue this down like one of my charms. That might work too. I wish I had some tweezers, but I don't know what happens to most of those things. Anyway, we're gonna put this on here for a ring, and we're gonna paint her nails, one of her nails, just this one, red in some spots. I'm gonna use these glitter paints. I'm not sure where I got these from. I'm thinking Five of Lowe's. I'm gonna use some of the red color, or scarlet, I guess. Just look at that. Fortunately, I used my scissors because that was a good idea. As you can see, I used hot glue for the ring and put a bead down the best I could without using my hands and possibly burning my finger and my dignity. Anyway, I decided to paint it gold. Taking a look at her other nails, you see she has another ring. She got two rings. Ooh. Child, she got two rings. So we're gonna have to do that. Let's do the rings first. I'll do the rings off screen. But we got different things on her fingernails. So this one looks kind of like there's a dark pink or red at the top, and then some golden ribbon or something. This one kind of looks like these two kind of look like gold dots, and this one looks like red and blue and gold colors. Why does the top look brown? I don't know. We'll have to do our own rendition. So be back in a moment. You can see I've made a mess, but that's what I did for the other ring. You can only get it so small, so I'm gonna paint that too. And come back and paint this other one as well. I guess since I couldn't press the beads down into the hot glue, they started sliding off. I tried using some tacky glue at some point, but that clearly wasn't working either. It's a wonder I'm still sane after this, to be honest. I tried to paint the nail with the red and blue the best I could. It's so tiny to work with though. And the nails, of course, aren't that great in shape, so it was killing me. Now you can see I was starting on the next nail. I went back and forth at times, like right here. I tried creating the cross or crisscrosses with gold paint, but between the paint and brush, it wasn't really working. And the dots were difficult themselves, but the middle fingernail was almost pinched, so I couldn't really paint it. I was having a hard time with pretty much painting all of the nails, especially getting the gold paint to be pigmented. But you know, it is what it is. All I gotta say is please remind me to start painting the nails first before I put them on the hands, and please pray for me that I can make better hands. I tried, y'all. Here are the nails. One fell off at this point, so that's how you know they're temporary, which is good. I'll have to show them a bit more in my review, more on that later. But I can use this for other dolls, but I'll decorate them first, then glue them on. These are ugly, but I tried. And here are her earrings. I'm not sure why I didn't take a picture of them sooner, but I was going crazy at that time. So these are earrings. I used hot glue to glue little studs onto her ears, and then I painted them silver. Hopefully that was the right color. I will show the necklace after the outfit. Okay, on to the shoes. My art nemesis. Anyway, I'm trying to show you here the feet. Terribly sculpted, but still nevertheless feet. I didn't want to use clay for the feet so that I could make the shoes removable and interchangeable, so I used air dry clay. Bad idea. Thanks to rushing while shopping, I grabbed a big old thing of Sculpey air dry modeling clay, which wasn't the brightest idea. You can see that I made the bottom of the feet light. I kneaded some of the clay and wrapped it around the foot the best way I could, shaping it into a shoe. Well, what's supposed to be a shoe anyway. She's a track star, so I think she's wearing white trainers. That's what I was going for at least. But man, I hate air dried clay. It's not good at all. Why do you people use this stuff? And in the video, at some point, I said it was starting to dry out already. So that's freaking weird. Air dried clay freaking sucks. I'm sorry that I assumed you all use air dry clay. I was just talking out of anger and rage. However, I am not apologizing for saying it sucks and why do people use it. No, it's not good. It's terrible. As you can see, I started to get cracks. And so I tried restoring them with fresh clay, but I didn't have a whole lot of luck. I legit had to get a spray bottle of water. Definitely not doing shoes with air dry clay ever again. I'll save it for accessories and food, if even that. I wish the air dry clay I had already purchased hadn't dried up. I was really looking for plasticine or something like that, but I was rushing at the store, so I just picked up whatever I could find. Now, I left the slit in an attempt to take the shoes off later. That didn't age well. But anyway, here's how the big bulky turbo shoes look, and I started repeating it on the other foot. Look at that crumbling up. The nerve. I let them dry for maybe like a day. And I stored the clay in a Ziploc bag and pencil case. Here are the shoes. Not the best looking, but that's what I get for working with air dry clay. In all seriousness, the clay was still a bit wet and it finally dried eventually. This was experimentation and trial and error, and I'm glad that I tried it on her first because, surprise, the shoes won't come off. Not without a fight, at least. So I won't be doing this ever again. I cannot emphasize that enough. I'll use paper clay or plasticine next time. Something that can dry up squishy, I guess. Or slime or fabric. I could have used Palmer clay for all this. That was my fear. That it would get stuck. But anyway, I'll keep experimenting carefully and watch some tutorials. And take my time, too. It's a good thing her shoes and feet aren't that important to me. I was gonna make laces or shoestrings, but the shoes are so hard, so how would I thread them or glue them in? And these big shoes don't work with her flimsy legs. Now it's time for the outfit, which took forever. Here's my pattern. I have divided it into several areas, including silver for the chest, gold for the chest, black for the bottoms, and silver for one leg. And the trial and error I did for this was immaculate and embarrassing, honestly. It was a hassle trying to buy fabric, but I finally got everything I needed pretty much, black, gold, and silver fabric. So I cut out my pattern, and for some fabrics I was able to trace each pattern piece, and then I cut out what I traced, of course. But for others I had to pin the paper down and cut around the paper. I did one for all 8 pieces. I'm a beginner seamstress who hasn't sewn a thing on a sewing machine since 2020, so you'll see me struggle here a lot. I sew all the parts together, creating each side of the garment. I then pinned the 2 pieces together, and I only had a few pins, so that wasn't good. And then I sewed them together, but when I was all done, I couldn't even get it onto the doll at all. So I had to start over. First, I took some gold fabric and wrapped it around her to get a good coverage. It wasn't a good idea because I left out the straps and it wasn't based on the shape from the pattern. But I learned my lesson quickly and used the pattern to create the other pieces, except this time I cut around them with lots of space so the pieces could be bigger. I ran into lots of issues though. I'll break down each part. So the silver leg pieces I cut out ended up not matching once I created seams for them. Nevertheless, I sewed the silver leg pieces to the black bottom pieces, which was hard because of course I had to adjust them as I sewed. When I put the pants good side to good side, which is how you sew things, I realized that they were on 2 different legs. So I cut them from the black pieces and it was hard to restore them after that. But I sewed it back onto the black bottom piece anyway, the best I could. Great, now it looks like someone bit out of it. Even though they were now able to lie on top of one another for the same leg, they were still not really good matches, especially since I ended up sewing the seams and it created 2 different shapes. I'll come back to this in a moment. I created seams for the gold top pieces, which were okay, and although I accidentally sewed a gold piece to a black piece before sewing it to the silver top piece first, but everything did still work out. That's kind of how it turned out. I was able to make pretty decent silver top pieces with a decent match after I sewed the seams, so that was pretty cool. Okay, so these are the 2 silver pieces. I'm gonna have to add some straps to the gold pieces. I had to sew the gold pieces to the silver ones. And then I sewed the top pieces to the bottom pieces. So when the silver and gold was combined, I sewed it to the black bottom pieces, which I had issues sometimes, like getting the stitches to hit the fabric or go through the fabric. Some of the zigzag stitches were off of the fabric, so I used a straight stitch, I think, to try and sew on top of that. I think the stitches kept missing the fabric, so that I ended up having to keep sewing it again and again. It did work out fine for the most part, but yeah, I had some issues, like I jammed the machine a couple of times. So instead of taking the gold piece and cutting this off, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna sew it down. That way it's still a neat little seam. So I'm gonna do that first. This part right here. It looked pretty good. The part was missing though, like there was a hole, and also I decided to see a little sew a little more in one area to block the gray stitching I had done earlier with the gold pieces seams. Perfect. I got some of the line closed, but you know, it is what it is. So now I'm gonna sew the black part here onto the silver simply by folding the silver over and sewing. I'm gonna sew this little tab flap thingy down as well in the process. Okay, not bad. I cut off excess and seams, which is not good because it was starting to fray. Since the pants didn't match one another, I initially tried to force the pants leg to match one another by sewing it and matching it slowly one bit at a time. So I would adjust the pants, just try to get them to match each other artificially, which is not good. Now I did sew from the armpit to the hip at this point because the pants definitely needed some support if I was going to try to match them up more and sew more. I also tried sewing a patch, so to speak, to the bite mark, but I sewed it the wrong direction. Even with that being said, it would have worked, but none of the forced matching really helped. But the biggest issue was that I realized Flo's shoe wouldn't fit the pants leg regardless. So what I did was cut the silver pants leg off. First, I tried to make like a leg warmer using the silver fabric or a piece that could be sewn to the black bottom, but the fabric isn't stretchy enough for the shoe to go through. So my last resort was using something stretchy and covering it up with the silver fabric the best way I could. Here's how I did it. I took a footy, folded it in half horizontally, and trimmed off part of the bottom where your toe or ankle would go to allow her right leg to go through. I cut a slit out the top so that it could wrap around the doll's hips because I was also trying to use this for the bottom of the leotard. With that being said, I kept in mind where the bottom of her hip would be so that there would be a hole for her left hip to go through. Fortunately, I was successfully able to use it for the pants leg and even the bottom of the leotard. I sewed a straight line from the bottom of the hip to the bottom of the pants leg, making sure it was good side to good side, meaning the sticky part is outside. I have no clue where my chalk is, so I used tape to try and mark where to make adjustments, which failed. I sewed the fabric at the top of the hip to make the hole for the leg to go through. When I estimated where to sew, I had to do only a little closer from the edge at a time because if I sewed too far from the edge, the piece would be too thin for the pants and foot yet again. You guys, having chalk or something to mark up the pants, I forgot what we call that tool in fashion, but it's literally like mandatory or else you can't see where you're going. Here I am just going back in one more time to try and sew a straight line down the leg so that I can make the pants leg less big and more tailored to her leg and therefore her body. So here's the doll with the uni pants or whatever you want to call them. It's not horrible, but I did have to trim off the excess. I was originally going to sew one more time, but that was risky without chalk, so I left it. I didn't sew the silver to it because the black pieces would probably be sewn together, which would close the hole of the pants leg and I wouldn't be able to put her leg through it at all. Okay, this wasn't a horrible idea, but I decided to tacky glue the silver onto it. It's not 100% glued down, but my concern is mostly losing its stretch, so I'm gonna try it. Let's see if that worked, but if not, I don't know what to say. So it's not the best, and I definitely if I did this again, would use some sort of flexible glue or stretchy glue. I just didn't want to sew it on because it would probably go through to the other side of the pants and sew the pants together, which would not be good. So I'm gonna just leave it on her leg like this for now. And also for the shirt, I marked a piece in the back where I'll try to sew them together. Okay, so I forgot to record it, but I sewed this down. I originally started to trim off the excess until I realized I should have folded the excess down and sewed it down to keep a seam and avoid the frayed edges. Okay, this is kind of how it looks. Not bad. I started trying to get it on her, but it was kind of tight, of course, because of, how, she's got the pants on and stuff. So I'm going, and I cut it kind of really low with the black. So what I'm going to do is flip it back over, and then I'm going to sew this down. And then I'm going to try to create some straps to sew onto here. Wish I had just done it like I did the silver pieces, but you live and you learn, And then I'll try to put it on her and call it the day. I had to sew the silver straps together several times because the stitches went right through the top of them, which was frayed for some reason. I made some measly gold straps by sewing down some rectangular pieces of fabric together. Sometimes I jammed the machine. Thankfully, I was able to save it each time, but it was still a hindrance. I believe I gave up after that jam, so I pinned the strap to the top, aka shirt, with the side that had a seam being at the top of the strap. That way it wouldn't fray when I sewed it to the other strap. Also, this time I took a risk and tried moving the other pieces of fabric out the way so I wouldn't sew things together that didn't need to be sewn together, like the silver and gold t-shirt pieces. So I'm flipping it inside out, but the edges have frayed a lot for some reason. So it still didn't really turn out that well. I'll express more of my frustration in the review I do, but as you can see, this ended up fraying. I don't know what the heck happened with the strap. I ended up having to cut the back open just to get it on her, and I did bring the elastic part of the outfit over the silver and gold, so that's kind of helping it stay in place for the most part. It looks decent in the front, just again not the best, not my best work, but we'll try her again one day. Now onto my doll stand. I drew a circle and cut out an insert to glue in a wooden dowel, and I cut the circle out. I wanted to give her stand some sort of personalization, so I decided to do lightning bolts, which I guess is symbolic of running fast since it's the logo of the superhero The Flash. I drew out a pattern and used it to cut out 2 pieces with foam board, which is not as good as cardboard for things like this because the paper could peel off when painted or wet. I used hot glue to glue most of the stuff down, like the dowels and lightning bolts, but hot glue only secures things so much. Also, the bolts came out better than I expected. They're a bit jagged, but I did what I could. The doll is very heavy and has flimsy wire for joints, so I'll be adding it to wood to make it sturdy and help her stand. I chose black because black goes with her outfit, and black or white goes with anything. I think it's also a sophisticated color and the usual for doll stands. I'm also using a color combo that creates a fiery illusion, which I'll show in a moment. And gold, because her outfit has gold, and although those might not match with a whole lot of things or anything, I'd say that anyone can be around fire or gold with any outfit. And also, this is again my favorite fit I saw her in, so I wanted to match it. I still needed to add hot glue to the creases to create more support and sturdiness, and the edges to make them smooth, but at this point I was just painting the stand in areas that I didn't need to put hot glue in. Now I'm adding hot glue to the edges to make them smooth, and some hot glue accidentally dropped from the top of the lightning bolts, so I repeated it on the other side because I liked the drip effect. I have to add hot glue to the creases to give the wings or lightning bolts some support. So now I'm painting the edges. And then eventually I decided to paint the entire thing black first to hide imperfections and to give me a sort of priming layer for other colors. Now I'm adding the red, orange, and yellow colors to the quote-unquote wings or lightning bolts, trying to create a fiery effect. I had to make orange mixing red and yellow. It wasn't the best orange, but I worked with what I could. I tried blending the colors the best that I could by dragging the colors in between one another, if that makes sense. I'm not sure how noticeable it is, but I'm basically dry brushing some gold paint onto the stand. I'm also painting the edge of the base completely gold. I use Mod Podge to kind of seal my work. I added black and gold glitter to the base only. I got some coasters that are ready to paint and I'm using it to make the stand more sturdy. I painted the surface black in any areas that might be visible. Here I was adding hot glue to the edges to make them smooth. I wrapped some wire around the abdomen to get an idea of how to hold the doll on the stand. Surprisingly, the wire was holding her pretty well, so I decided to secure it the best I could by wrapping wire around it and the wooden dowel to attach them to one another. And since it was still a bit loose, I added hot glue to it to secure it a bit more. It ended up being a bit more sturdy and I was still able to move the silver wire a bit, but I don't recommend doing that too much because it might break. Even like on parts where there's no hot glue or anything, the wire can break. I hot glued the foam board base of the stand to the wooden coaster and added hot glue around the edges to add more security and cover parts that didn't get glued down. I painted it black to cover the imperfections thoroughly, and then I added more gold, and even with the messiness, I love how the accent looks. I painted this part gold a bit. I wrapped one piece of wire into 3 layers to create her necklace. It's not the best and it slides off because the neck is too small, but the hair might be able to cover the imperfections of the gold fabric and the necklace. I used air dry clay for the baton, kneading it, making it into a snake, and then cutting it. I let it dry for probably a day. Okay, so just when I'm pretty much done, something else goes wrong and her leg fell off. So now I'm gonna have to literally put wire inside. Thankfully, there's holes still and room in the holes a little bit. But now I'm gonna have to put wire into both of the legs to sort of kind of connect them back together. Here she is, you all. It is nowhere near perfect. I mean, it's okay, I guess, but I'm still proud of where I've come. I was supposed to get this video out in February 2021 and started making the doll in 2021. And it's been 2 Februaries since then, so just getting this out is enough for me. I wanted to get this doll done for Black History Month and the video, but you know how that goes. Nevertheless, every month is Black History Month, so happy late Black History Month anyway. I'm going to do a deeper dive into the results of the doll in my separate review video, where I'll review my own doll. I'll post it at some point. Seeing how long it took me to get this video out, don't bet on it coming out soon. But I'll be showing more close-ups of the nails, the baton, the outfit, and I'll be reflecting on the experience and my work, talking about the pros and cons and result of the doll. I would do it in this video, but I wanted this to be a completely customization video, just in case some people just want to see me make the doll and the result. But if you'd like to see me do a review, whenever it comes out, please tune into it. I probably won't be doing much more with this doll after the review, but we'll see. There are lots of doll customs I have planned, so stay tuned. Most of them will probably not be characters and celebs for a while though. I was supposed to do 4 other dolls for Black History Month in 2021, and for fun, you can guess which celebrities or pioneers I was going to do. But as you can see, I'm just now finishing 1 1/4 of the 5 dolls in 2023, and just barely made it with this one, and didn't get the video out in February. And I didn't even start on most of the other Black History Month dolls yet, so it will be a while before I make any of those. But for characters, I did Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians, which was supposed to be posted in January, but I hope to finish editing the video this month of March. But in conclusion, I'll be making some more custom dolls after Jack Frost, but most will be my original characters. So tune into those customs and my upcoming doll shows, some of which will feature my original characters. Oh, and reminder of my Fundraiser dolls. Sorry, I talk too much. I hope you all learned something. Maybe I'll talk more about her in my review. May FloJo's legacy live on. See you all in my next video. Bye!